All right, good evening. I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the regular monthly meeting of the zoning board of appeals, Wednesday, December 13th, 2023 at 7:00 p.m. First order of business is, call to order and seating of members. Sherry, would you take attendance, please?
Tom Schultz,
Here.
Dennis Ermshire,
Present.
Robert Corson,
Here.
Bertram Schmitz,
Here.
Lori Jaffe,
Here.
Maureen Noonan. Kathy, can you move it?
Maureen Donovan.
Hmm.
Wonder why it's not letting me.
Sure, Christie left. You are a presenter.
Yeah, I launched the meeting.
Oh, the newest one, I mean,
Is she here?
let's see if she comes in.
Since two participants, which would be her one, too. Maureen?
Maybe she went off and she's trying again.
Yeah.
Put her down as absent for now.
She continue.
Yeah, it shows two participants, so one is me, I would think she'd be,
She should have come down.
yeah.
Can we continue until she can?
Yeah, you have, you have four, so.
We'll try to get Maureen logged in, but we can continue. Because we don't, Drew Richards, who was our secretary previously, is no longer on the board. So we need to have a secretary tonight, and I'd like to ask Tom Schultz, would you be acting secretary just for this evening?
Oh, sure. I don't know if I know what I'm doing, but,
Oh, no.
okay, sure.
Would you will? Thank you very much. All right. Thank you. The next order of business is to review and approve the October 18th, 2023 meeting minutes as revised by our clerk. And actually,
I'm sorry, can you speak that a little louder?
Sure.
Please.
sure, the next order of business is to review and approve the October 18th, 2023 meeting minutes as revised by our clerk. And the minutes have been posted. I would like to make one other addition, one correction, very minor typo. On page 7 of 8, in the middle of the page where it says ZBA 23-9 CAM, lowercase b, it should be a C. That was just, I think, it should be C because we have B above, so it's a very picky point, but since it's being revised.
Well, it's already filed, but that's all.
So I would suggest that.
So we do a correction.
A correction, right, just changing the B to a C. So I don't know if anybody has any comments, any discussion about that additional proposed change, or any discussion about the proposed revisions by the clerk? Cool. All right. Could I have a motion to approve the October 18th, 2023 meeting minutes as revised?
I'll make a motion.
Wait a minute. Motion to approve the 10
The October 18th, 2023 meeting minutes as revised
revised minutes
by clerk and
as we corrected. Instead of using the word revised twice, corrected by Jackie.
so
That was Bert moving.
Dennis, I believe, made the motion and Bert seconded it.
Yes. Then you for a second
Not much.
discussion.
Okay, so we have a second?
Bert,
Bert, yes.
Discussion?
Any discussion, further discussion? No, no discussion.
In favor?
All in favor? Aye.
All what? You were.
I finally got Maureen on.
Oh, okay. Maureen is here.
I was out there for the meeting, I wasn't,
You were part of the board at the
no, I
time,
wasn't part.
so he wouldn't be.
Right, in general, if I could just make a comment from what I've read, if someone I think is a current board member and one has confidence that the minutes are appropriate, one does not need to abstain, but I think in this situation, because you weren't on the board at the time, I think that's proper.
And that's correct, you don't have to be here to approve. that.
Right, but I
No,
think,
but he wasn't on the board.
No, you're correct.
yeah, so I think for a new.
So Bob not eligible.
Were there any opposed? No, so it was. Well, that was the vote.
The vote was,
Four. Four, yeah.
4-0. Bob was not eligible.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, chair comments. I'd like to welcome our new member, Bob Corson. Tony goes by Bob. Some of you may know him, but I just had the pleasure of meeting him just now. Welcome. And I'd also like to acknowledge Tom Schultz, who is now a full member, having moved from an alternate member. And I would also like to thank Drew Richards, George Dorr, and Dylan Walter for their service on the board. And I'll have a little bit more to say about George Dorr's service later on. Item number 4 on the agenda, receipt of application. ZBA 23-11, 114 East Main Street, Peter McCarty Appellants, 114 East Main LLC property owner. Appeal of the November 9th, 2023 notice of violation of Town of Clinton Planning and Zoning Regulations, section 34.9.8, no feather or swooper flags, issued by the zoning enforcement officer, assessors map 68, block 65, lot 5, zone EMVD. Just very briefly, this is an appeal of the November 9th, 2023 notice of violation of regulations, section 34.9.8. Do we need a motion to approve receipt, or is that not
Yeah,
necessary?
you need a motion to receive the application and to set the public hearing.
All right, can someone make a motion to receive the application and set the matter for public hearing? Okay,
Who's that?
Bob Corson,
Bob moved to receive and set public hearing for January 17th, that's your next regular
Correct.
meeting.
correct.
We had to put that in for January 17th, 2024 at 7 o'clock.
I'll second it.
Is there a second?
In the motion.
Dennis seconded. Is there any discussion about the receipt of this application? No? Can we do vote, please, then? Oh, can you do that?
Yeah, I just wanted to question, because I thought somewhere I read that they were saying that they were being.
Wait, we can't, let me just say, we can't discuss the substance of that for 2 reasons. One, it's not a public hearing, and secondly, our zoning enforcement officer is present, and we can't
Okay,
discuss it. So anything other than a question about the receipt of the application.
okay, no,
Okay, no discussion.
yeah, no, just.
Okay. All right, can we take the vote, please, sir?
Do you don't need a roll call.
No, I don't want to.
Okay, thanks. Ask for the vote.
Okay, all in favor?
I,
Any opposed?
That's it.
No abstention. Any abstentions? No.
Unanimous.
All right, moving along to new business, A, membership. Again, welcome to our new member, Bob Corson. And also in view of George Dorr's many years of serving, I wanted to formally acknowledge his contribution. To that end, I asked Sherry Hines to draft a thank you.
Yes,
And she,
yes.
and she drafted the following note, which I would like to read, and then I'm going to ask for consensus as to whether the board would like to have it sent. So bear with me, it's very short. Certificate of appreciation issued to George Dorr at his home address here in Clinton. Our sincere thank you for your time and valued participation on the zoning board of appeals for 34 years as an alternate from November 1987 to November 1990. Full member from November 1990 to November 1997, and as a full member from November 1999 to November 2023. Thank you for holding the office of secretary and then the office of chairman. Dated in Clinton, Connecticut, this 13th day of December 2023, Zoning Board of Appeals by Lori Jaffe, Chair. So I'm hoping that the board can reach a consensus. If not, please, express your opinion, but is there a consensus that we can send this certificate of appreciation?
Sounds good.
Anybody not want to send this? I assume not. I just have to ask. Thank you very much. And then, Sherry, at some point you will print an original that doesn't have the draft mark and I will come.
Yeah, I thought I had it with me tonight.
I will work with Sherry and sign it and send it along. Thank you. Okay, B, new business, approval of the fiscal year 22/23 annual report. I hope you all had a chance to look at it in the document center. This is basically a report that has to be filed, with the town. Sherry Hines prepared it, I reviewed it, and, I just would like to approve, to have this approved by the board. So is there any discussion about this, this annual report? No? Okay. Would someone care to make a motion to approve the fiscal year 22/23 annual report?
I'll make that.
Okay, Dennis, is there a second?
I'll second.
Tom, thank you. Any further discussion? All right,
Who moved to approve? That was
Dennis?
Dennis
and
and
Tom.
Tom.
Tom seconded. And there was no discussion.
And I just asked Marie.
She's not. Is she? Oh, it was the five,
That's right. She was not gonna-
correct? Right. But we can ask, Maureen, do you have any discussion?
No, I read them. Looks good. Thank you.
But of course, as an alternate, you're always free to speak as you do, so.
Yes, thank you.
Glad we were able to resolve the technology issue. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, next on our new business, ZBA overview. I thought it would be a good meeting since we didn't have any applications or any public hearings to sort of do a refresher course for those of us who've been on the board, but also for our new member to have a presentation. And Kathy King graciously offered to do a presentation, a brief presentation. So thank you, Kathy.
All right, so I have this, that I'm gonna email you tomorrow, and also I know some of you were here, Carrie Olson, our town attorney, had done a terrific PowerPoint, so I'm gonna resend that out as well, because I think those are really helpful refreshers and also good for people starting out. So I'm gonna do a pretty brief overview of ZBA, and if you have any questions tonight, tomorrow, next month, feel free to call me, email me, stop by, whatever I can do to help. So I'll begin here. I broke this down into a couple of parts. The first part is the process. So what happens is applications come into the land use office via our OpenGov, which is an online permitting system that we have. And we have it for everything now. Complaints come in through that. All of our applications, ZBA used to be paper and used to have to, come in person, hand out copies. Now we're doing it all digitally. So the preference that we have is that people make an appointment to meet with us first. Abby, the town planner, and I usually sit down and meet with people because, ZBA is quite complicated and sometimes people will send in an application that's not complete or that they don't really understand what zoning's definition of a hardship is. So we like to go over things with them first to let them know what they might need or, what might be incomplete. And then we, try to make sure they understand the process of, once they submit it, then everything's a public hearing. There's the timetable. Sherry goes by the dates of closing because since the meetings are public hearings, they have to be advertised twice in the newspaper. So Sherry will initially review in OpenGov. We all have steps that are assigned to us. And then I review the applications and I can send them to referral agencies. For example, town engineer might need to take a look at it, or DEEP, which is Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. And then the way we do it, you're supposed to choose a newspaper of substantial circulation. So the Harbor News seems to be the best choice. Interestingly, as an aside, I just attended the Casio annual meeting last week, which is the Connecticut Association of Zoning Enforcement Officers, and there's a court case pending about substantial circulation of newspapers in Old Saybrook. So Harbor News is a good safe bet. So we need to publish it 2 times. So we usually do the 2 Thursdays before the meeting. So for example, if the meeting is going to be held tonight, December 13th, we would publish a legal notice of public hearing on Thursday, the 30th of November and Thursday, the 7th of December. If we don't have proper notice, then we can't hold a public hearing. Then if after the ZBA makes their decision, the legal notice has to be published within 15 days of the meeting. And our process is we like to do it as soon as possible. So usually Sherry will send it that night, Wednesdays, so it can be published because it's that Thursday, it's a week. So she'll get it into not tomorrow's newspaper, but the following Thursdays. And then there's a 15-day appeal period for all of the commission applications. Somebody can appeal the decision to court if they choose. So we always recommend, with variances they have to, but others, we always say, give it 15 days, because if somebody does appeal, and you started your project, you're gonna have to put it back to where it was, and you don't wanna risk that. And after the appeal period is over, given the sample dates that I gave, the legal notice of decision will be published on Thursday, the 21st, and the 15-day appeal period would end January 5th. At that point in time, the applicant can pick up their certificate of variance and they have to file it in the town clerk's office. If they don't, it's not activated. So you have to activate it first before you can then apply for building or other permits. It goes on the land deed in perpetuity. So it's not, even though people will come in and say, well, my neighbor thinks this is a wonderful idea, that's great. But it's not about that, because these things run with the property, not the owner. So 3 people could buy the house later and the neighbor could say, I don't like you and I don't like your shed, and it's in. So you always want to think when you're voting about the property, not the fact that they're friendly with their neighbor, because that could be a temporary thing. Also, there are no deadlines on variances. We had to change our regulations because we had it in there that there were. People can say, I got a variance 3 years ago, but I never filed it. Is it still good? Yes. They have to file it in the town clerk's office, but they don't have to come back. We did have an incident, I think it was like a year ago, where somebody came in, and the problem was, at that time, our regulations stated that the variances did expire. And so it was in the town clerk's office on the deed that it did, and we can't undo that. So what we had to do is make them go through the process and get that variance again, so that.
Excuse me, it's not on the deed, it's on the land records.
Yeah, but it runs with the land records, upstairs.
Yeah.
So, the attorney advised us that ZBA members should make motions in the affirmative. Even if you don't want to approve the application, that's fine. You can say that, the motion won't carry. The reason why you don't want to do a denial is because if it doesn't go through, you have to have reasons, and then it can throw things off in terms of putting it in the negative versus putting it in the affirmative. So, we have a lot of times where someone will make a motion to approve and then it fails to carry, and that's fine. Abby, our town clerk, has been doing a lot with the motions, because it's really important to have concrete findings, because if it goes to court for appeal, the judge is going to look for procedural error first and foremost. So we want to make sure our findings are grounded in our regulations, and that way there's good reasons for a denial to take place. It's less likely to get overturned or remanded back to the ZBA. So, please. Also, this is an important point too. The motion should always include a specific site plan and what's being requested, because, for example, if somebody wants to put in a garage, and they're asking for 3 feet of side setback. If you don't specify that plan and what it's for, they could use that 3 feet for their whole property line. So you want to make sure your site specific, it's, per the plan by X engineer, for this on this date, and that way it's very clear what they're getting the request for. And we always request, it's in the regulations to surveys, because I always tell people, the ZBA needs to know what you're asking for in order to grant it. So you can't just say, well, I think I need 10 feet, I'm not sure, you have to have a specific number. So the next section that I went into is the regulations. And I basically copied, but I'm not gonna read them all, just some of the highlights. Again, you have to think about hardship in terms of the definition from the zoning perspective. Because, we had somebody come in a number of years ago who said, I want a big room because I like to have parties. It's not a hardship for zoning. It may have been a personal hardship for him, but it's not a zoning hardship. So it has to pass that test. So variances, according to our regulations, shall only be granted where such an action would be in harmony with the purposes of the regulations, and where enforcement of these regulations would result in unusual hardship. So if a property is a very unique shape, it has unique topography, if all the, the whole neighborhood is a half acre and this one is, a tenth of an acre, there's something really unique. But being too small is not a hardship unto itself, because a lot of properties, for example, on Shore Road, might be 0.2 acres. And if they're all 0.2, then yours isn't unique. It's not a hardship. So it can't be personal, it can't be financial, and it can't be self-created. So it has to be unique to the property. And the other thing is, the burden is on the applicant to demonstrate that they've met the requirements for the variance. They say variances shouldn't be given out like lollipops. That's a phrase that people use in zoning. They're supposed to be granted, according to regulations, sparingly and only to the minimum extent necessary to allow the property to be used for the least intensive use. So, if somebody wants something, really large, it's okay to ask, and I think you all do, to be reasonable, could you make it a little smaller? Could you move it so it's not so close to setback? Have you looked at, prudent and reasonable alternatives? What if, because a lot of people buy a small property and then they want to build and build and build, and we do have ground coverage and, other requirements for zoning, and ground coverage is an important one because, basically it has to do with water and infiltration into the ground. And if people go over that to a large extent, it can, cause more flooding, and also it has environmental impact. So, a lot of people will say, well, I don't understand, who cares what my ground coverage is? And people will often say to me that, I don't understand, and I try to explain, impervious is when the water cannot filter through. Pervious is when it can. So if somebody wants a deck, I might say to them, well, how about a stone patio? If you're already over coverage, have you considered that? You could put up some pretty plants or something, and that way it won't count. Sometimes what people do is they'll barter, where if they have, say they're at 23% ground coverage and they're allowed 20, I'll say to them, well, you can go to the ZBA, that's one option you have. You can make it smaller, or some people will say, I really want my garage. I don't care about my, concrete patio. They'll take it up, and then they'll use that percentage towards what they do want. I have people doing that with pools.
A lot of these people are saying they're taking up their driveway.
Yeah, because what,
2 weeks later, they go back and somebody pays it.
yeah, I've had people take up driveways and put down gravel, and I'll usually go out and I'll take a look. I just did one yesterday, because I'll say, you're over coverage already. And what happens with the driveways? That's a really interesting point you bring up, because you don't need to get a permit from me to get a driveway. You need it from Public Works. So if somebody has a house, and I had this happen on a property in town with a very large lot, they put in a very long asphalt driveway, like over 1,000 square feet, didn't realize it triggered them into being over coverage. And then they said, I want to have my whatever. And I said, you're already at 25%. You're only allowed, whatever the percentage is. And they were like, how did this happen? Well, you put down more impervious coverage. So I said, you can go to ZBA, but you have to have a hardship of the land. So that's the thing that's tricky. It can't just be, well, I already have a long driveway, but I really want my barn, So it's hard, because the ZBA has that task of sort of being the reasonable body to listen to these things and make those decisions.
I just think a lot of people are pulling stuff up, putting it down once the project's done.
They might, I mean, I do go out and I do my due diligence when I inspect, but what happens after, I don't always have that awareness and not even draws attention. I will say we have a lot of helpers, a lot of neighbors, like to call on their neighbors.
So you can go back as a matter of course after construction is done to make sure they comply.
You know, I could start to do that with some of the removals. I had one yesterday that I actually went and measured, with a tape to make sure they took up the amount of coverage they had to per the ZBA decision. And they complied, so now they can put in something that they wanted, but it probably would be good practice for me to go back in a month or two and just make sure that it is still what it is. So I can certainly add that onto my list of
And
tasks.
certain times you also get an as-built in.
Yeah, we usually ask for an
Contact.
as-built, and also, you know, if there's anything that requires any ongoing monitoring, I do that as well, but yeah, we do get an as-built, because I always tell people, I have to make sure that what the ZBA approved is what you did, because you might have been granted 3 feet, and you were like, you know what, I kind of want 5 feet, so I'm gonna just do it, but I need that as-built to show what is granted, and what I do is I compare the variance to the plan and make sure they match. And if it's a little bit less, that's fine, it just can't be more. So my last section is just on what I call good meeting hygiene. So one of the big things is if you cannot attend the meeting, please let us know, because a lot of times people will hire a professional, an architect or an engineer or someone, and they're paying them money, and then they come and they can't, you have to have a minimum of 4 votes from the ZBA, and sometimes people will request that they wait, because if the 4 is the least number of votes they need, but if they have 5, if someone says no, they still have the 4 affirmative votes. So Sherry will usually ask people, would you like to have your vote tonight, or would you like to choose to wait next month? So, you know, it's great if we know in advance. If it's something where we know we're not even gonna have a quorum, we can call the chairman in advance, and we can also let the applicant know that we're gonna cancel, because it doesn't make sense in that instance. If an application is continued from a previous meeting, you must listen to the recording. We have minutes, and Sherry always sends the links to everything with the audio recordings, because you need to be prepared. And you don't have to listen to the whole meeting, you can listen to just that portion that pertains to that particular application. So you can, you know, listen to just that, because you need to have listened to everything and really be prepared, so that when you come in to vote, you know all the backstory and what's been said in previous meetings. And the chair will ask, you know, have you done this? And if you haven't, you know, be honest. And then she'll know whether or not we can vote that night, or whether we need to wait.
Or seat someone.
Yeah, or seat someone else if they've been here. And that's great for the alternates too, to always be prepared, because even if, you know, we have a full quorum, and if someone's out sick or is unable to attend, if the alternate member, or members are prepared, they can sit in and vote. So that's really important. So I just asked, and I'll send these out to you. You don't have to read all the zoning regulations by any stretch, but section 13 is short, and I think it's maybe 2 pages. And that is where zoning board of appeals variances are really discussed in detail. And it's in layman's terms, it's not a lot of jargon, but just to understand, you know, basically what it is you're looking for, what is acceptable in terms of, you know, what the requirements are to grant variance. And then section 4 is the application requirements, and those are the things we ask for the application to be complete. And then the other piece is ZBA will listen to a formal submission of an appeal for a decision that I make. So if I make a decision and the property owner doesn't agree, they can appeal to the zoning board of appeals. It used to be that ZBA also did a certificate of location for automotive repair. That has been changed. That's no longer under the purview of the ZBA. So we just found that out last week. So I know you probably all know this, but you're not allowed to discuss an application outside of the meeting. It's called ex parte communication. And I know it's difficult in a small town. You're at the grocery store, you know, you're in the parking lot, and someone will say, I can't believe this guy, you know, and you have to remind people that, you know, you're only allowed to discuss the applications during the meeting. It has to be in a public setting where everybody's privy to the same information. And again, procedure is important, especially because ZBA decisions are sometimes appealed. So, and they're always gonna look at procedure. And also you wanna be careful, if you use, sarcasm or anything in a meeting, because if it's been transcribed for the court, you don't know how that'll come across. So, people have had that happen before and they're joking, but when the judge reads it, he or she doesn't understand that and it can go against us. If you're hybrid, or in person, always ask the chair to recognize you to speak so we all don't speak over each other. And just please be respectful. We can have differences of opinion. We can have disagreements with applicants, but we really want to keep our behavior in check. We've had instances where we've had new applicants, and it's not acceptable. And we need to let them know that, they need to follow proper behavior when they're here, because you're all volunteering your time to listen to their case, and it's not acceptable for them to be disrespectful. So that is my super basic overview. But as I said, anytime you have a question, call me, email me, stop by, always available to talk to you about process. I can't discuss like applications outside of the meeting, and say much about that, because again, that has to be held in the meeting, but anything else about procedure, anything at all, let us know. Don't be afraid to ask questions of the applicant or the chair if you're not sure about something. You really should vote yay or nay, not abstain, only if you really don't feel you have all the information that you need to make a decision. But then it's really the burdens on the applicant to make sure they provide that to you. And you can ask for more questions, and I can always ask for more information too. If you don't feel as a board that you have sufficient information, you can ask me to get more. Sometimes a third party, engineer or whatever the case may be, if it's in our regulations, we can request more information if necessary. So does anybody have any questions?
That was very good, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
You're
you so
welcome.
much.
And I'm gonna send this to you along with the PowerPoint. When Carrie came in, and she'll be coming in again at some point, our attorney, we had her here for a contentious application as well. But she came in one time just to do education, and she talked to us all about some of the basics. And also what's nice about having her here, she can talk about pending, legislation in terms of ZBA process, like the certificate of location, how that's changed, and how some things are changing. One thing that's been discussed quite a bit is the newspaper. A lot of people don't read newspapers anymore, and we have to put the public hearing notices and legal notices of decision in there. And so there's talk about just putting them on websites, what's kind of legally required. We also used to request a lot more in terms of sending letters to all the abutters. There's a lot of things that are kind of always in change in our procedures. So we'll certainly let you know, but Carrie is great for acknowledging that, and I learned a lot about that as well. So,
Thank you so much.
you're welcome. Thank you all for your time. I know it's a lot to
Well, you put
volunteer.
a lot of time into that too.
Yeah, so
We'll look forward to reading the.
we really appreciate all that you do.
You don't see all the work that goes into an application from the time it gets submitted.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
a,
we can plan it, we also just to review every application. We actually have on a committee, remember that, Sharon? We go in and we'd have a review panel that would review the stuff as they get
Not on
in.
ZBA,
Pardon?
not on
Not
ZBA.
ZBA. No, I'm planning zoning. I said.
Planning and zoning.
Yeah, we used to review everything.
and again, Sherry is terrific about sending everything out, and you get links on the agenda. The link will bring you into that opened up system, and you can view all the documents in there. If you have a question, you can't get into it, let us know. Also, if you ever have an issue with your emails, let us know. I don't know, does everybody here have a town email, Sherry, or yes, okay. If you ever have issues with that, let us know, because Sherry will communicate with you that way, just in case anything ever does get to appeals. We don't want your personal emails to be subpoenaed, so we always try to just keep it at work as a protection for you. So,
All right, thank you very much.
you're welcome.
I'd like to add that right now, because we only have one alternate, it's very important to let us know if you're not coming until we have more.
Right.
And Maureen is not always available due to her.
Yeah, I won't be available for January 17th meeting.
Okay, January 7th.
And the meetings are hybrid now, so, if you can be here in person, great, but if you can't, you can link up and you can be there virtually. So it's great if you're not feeling so great and you don't really want to come in, as long as you're feeling well enough to attend, of course, you can hop on virtually. It's an option.
Thank you.
Just if you could, please call us before 4 o'clock, the day of the meeting, because we leave. And then we come in and we're like, oh no, so-and-so can't come and it's 5 or 7 and, that way we have time to contact applicants.
All responsive emails.
Yeah, so we appreciate it.
And you don't have to let me know you are coming. It's more important that you're not coming.
Okay, so thank you. All right, moving to the next item on the agenda, correspondence. Sherry, is there anything, any correspondence?
No, it's.
Any more applications?
No, our closing was today. There's no applications at this point. Now, if something was to come in, a new application come in and it's complete, then it would be added to the January meeting for receipt and to set the public hearing.
Okay.
So at this
Today,
point,
like the meeting, like the matter today.
Right.
Oh, I should mention too, and I'm sure you all know about this, but, they have a public act that was passed that now the ZBA members and PZC are required to have mandatory training. It's only 4 hours, for the year, so it's not a lot, but if you could keep Sherry, abreast of
Christie.
It's.
Oh, it's Christie. Okay, if you've completed a training and if you have not and you're interested in trainings, let us know because we have some that we can recommend. Some are virtual and some are in person.
And I inquired about virtuals because I wanted to put the 4 hours in, which would be easy to do, but it doesn't seem like it's readily visible as to what is acceptable. And if you could knock off a few of those, of what's acceptable.
Yeah, we can resend.
We did,
emails.
and,
Okay.
the problem is, I think, it's not that the classes are there, but, it's not defined, is it specifically for zoning?
Right.
Okay.
So, any land use clear should be,
Yeah, you can contact us about that. The one
Well,
piece
I
that you
can
need to
try the
have
other
is the affordable housing. That's what has to be one of the components. That's the only one that's
When I
required.
tried to get in that class too, they were packed right out.
yeah, but
Stand by,
there may be some classes that you just do on your own.
but I love it. Just all I need is
It's under clear.
And for new members like Robert, you're not under this deadline. Yours will be for next year.
It's
So.
4 hours, so it wasn't just 4 hours last year, it's 4 hours each year now?
It's 4, I have to look it up and I can resend it to you, but I think it's 4 it's either every year or every other, but we
Let us
can
know.
clarify that and
Yeah,
let you
and if you
know.
happen to see something that's 4 hours, just put it to us and take it.
And we were actually thinking too of maybe having something here, especially the affordable housing piece. And the Connecticut Bar Association runs one, but it's a delay. But I don't think this is the off year, it's every other year that they run it.
Yeah, this is the.
This is the off year. We usually go in March. And they've done it at Wesleyan, but then they did it virtually, which worked out for a lot of people. So let me get that.
If you got a list,
information.
pass it out to us. I'll-
Yeah. No problem. I'll get back to you tomorrow.
How can we find out how many hours we have? Because I'm not really clear.
Contact Christie Alvarado in her office.
So,
Her email is CAL, V as in Victor, ARADO,
the GO.
D as in dog.
Yeah, we're keeping track for everybody, so we have a spreadsheet in the office.
Okay. Because I'm not really clear if I've taken some.
Well, and also because this is the first year, there's a little bit of leniency if you don't get it done by the 31st. But we prefer, it's best to have it done by the 31st.
The danger, if you will, because again, I just attended Casio, so part of it is Mike Ziskin, who's a very well-respected land use attorney. He wrote a book called What's Legally Required. He spoke and he said, this is new, but he said down the road, not right away, but he said it could be an issue. Members who don't have the training, they could have appeals. The applicant could say that the member wasn't properly trained to vote. And he also said that what could happen is the town could be withheld certain funds for different grants.
Like I said, if you can get us the list of courses that add
Yeah.
up hours, we can knock that out. for you.
So it's a new thing,
All
but
of us.
as we march on, it's gonna be something different.
So it's good to get in the habit.
Yeah, you can all of us,
be
send it to me too, please.
Yeah, I'll send it out to everyone.
I don't have much of a time crunch, but I still.
You're okay, because you're grandparents. You're not under
I
that
don't want
pressure.
you to-
And again,
Yeah, you would have until until December 31st of 2024. No, we don't want to wait.
November.
All right.
Yes.
Nice,
Yeah.
very good.
Yeah,
And
and
no,
that's,
and no other correspondence.
no, it was just notices of some upcoming classes. It's not only Clear that has them, Clear as UConn,
Right. The afternoon, right, see.
but there was, I think we just sent something out for, one of the municipal groups.
Yeah.
Connecticut. Conference of Municipalities.
CCM, you know, they have it, and Yukon Clear is really probably the best choice, because they have a lot, but some of the attorney's offices, I know Howard Sage, which is like for a land use attorney.
I did one.
Yeah, they've done, and we were thinking, even maybe getting together with Rivercog, which is the Council of Governments. That because so many towns, I think there's 17 municipalities that are part of Rivercog, Lower Valley, that maybe they could, you know, put something together as well.
Otherwise, their site might have something.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
All right, moving along, item number 7 on the agenda is, annual meeting. The first item is adoption of the 2024 calendar. I hope you all had a chance to look at the document. It was, it's on the website. The ZBA meetings and closing dates. Does anybody have any comments about the calendar? Any questions, comments, discussion? No, I don't have any comments. And I guess it will be a motion to adopt the calendar, is that how you
Yes.
phrase it? Okay,
I'll
all
make the motion.
right, Dennis, thank you. And Bert seconded, thank you. No further discussion? All in favor of adopting the 2024 calendar? Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, so it's approved. And the next item is election of officers for 2024, and first would be the chair. And I think at this point, because I'm the current chair, I don't think I should be presiding over nominations for the chair, so I'm gonna ask our secretary to do that. I think that's probably the way that you're
Nominations.
Can we? I can do
Just
that.
open the nominations.
All right, that's, would
If
you
you
consider proper? Okay, that's fine. I just thought that
You can
some
have
commissions
the
might go
rules.
differently. If it's all right with you, then I will do it.
It's okay.
All right, then I will do that.
You can
So-
open them and then we'll let.
Okay.
Take over.
Okay, are there, first we'll entertain any nominations for chair? Are there any nominations for the chair?
Actually, I'll let Tom do
I
it.
nominate Lori.
Dennis nominated
Thank you.
Lori. There should be a second.
I will second,
That's Tom.
yes.
You have to, I look down and I'm writing, so I don't necessarily get the,
Thank you,
who's
Tom.
doing that. Now,
Tom,
Tom,
let's say if there's any discussion, but you do.
Tom asked 3 times if there's more nominations.
Are there more nominations for the chair? Are there more nominations for the chair? Once more, are there nominations for the chair?
No,
No, there are no nominations.
okay, so, you can say the nominations
Nominations is closed.
and the chair is.
I'm sorry. Nominations for the chair
Are closed,
are closed.
and the chair is,
And the chair is Lauren Jaffe.
Thank you. We don't need to take a vote then, because there's no other nomination.
Right.
Okay. All right, well, thank you.
Sure,
Thank you.
all right,
Thank you all for your vote.
Okay.
thank you.
All right, and our next, position to be filled is for secretary.
Nominate Tom.
okay, Dennis
I'm supposed to ask
nominated
3
Tom.
times now?
No, Dennis nominated Tom,
I'll accept.
the second. The
Is there
nomination,
a second in the nomination for Tom Schultz?
Bert,
Okay.
3 times, more nominations.
Are there any other nominations for the office of secretary? Are there any other nominations for the office of secretary? Are there any other nominations for the office of secretary? There are none. So
Nominations are closed.
since there are no other nominations, I can,
Nominations are closed.
nominations are closed. I have a motion to close nominations.
You don't need a
You
motion.
got it? Okay, all right, so they're closed. So since there was only one candidate, one nominee, Tom Schultz is the secretary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I wasn't planning on it, but I will.
Okay.
Thank you. I got some.
And let's see, now number 10, which is actually number 8, but it's listed as 10. In addition to the agenda for the January 17th, 2024 regular meeting.
Right now, there's nothing, just,
So
just
just
the
the
public
public
hearing.
Right, the
But that's
ZB,
not-
public hearing for ZBA 23-11, 114 East Main Street. There's nothing else?
No. Eric, tell them.
I don't think we can do that yet.
Yeah, okay, maybe wait till the other.
Okay.
Can we go back to membership? Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
Is there a vice chair?
Traditionally,
There's
no.
just, no, there's not, yeah,
No.
I took another, well, just, well, we haven't had one since about that.
Yeah, the vacancies.
I don't know that we really have to say much, except that there are 2 vacancies, and, I was just told before the meeting started that, there is
Town council, next town council meeting,
one person is,
One person?
Oh, great.
Matt, the thing is, Sherry had gotten some information from, the clerk, and I had a question about clarification, and the information she had given Sherry really had to do with the first 30 days. So it's a different procedure, and I would just suggest.
so that's why this person could be on the agenda till the 20th meeting, because they had to wait 30 days for Dylan to be in that position.
So if anybody has any questions about, the requirements, they can certainly call the clerk's office. But was there anything else?
No, that was it.
Yeah, so hopefully we will have both of our alternate seats filled as soon as we can. Anything else that we missed? I hope not. Can I entertain a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I
Dennis,
second it.
Bob, all in favor?
Aye.
I assume there's no
Thanks,
nays,
Jonathan.
no extensions. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Marie.
Bye. Happy holiday.
Thank you, you too.